Hi there, my name is Schyler Church. I am a California real estate broker as well as a member of the education department at Accredited Real Estate Schools. We provide those courses as well as the continuing education to obtain and maintain a license, as well as varying levels of preparation to prepare for that state test. And this is the state test we're talking about. So you've already fulfilled the requirements, you've submitted that application to the state, and now you're actually ready to schedule and take the state exam. And this is for the salesperson license type. I have another video for brokers if you want to check that out, but most everyone is going to be getting their salesperson license usually when entering real estate. And if you want a video on the license types, please feel free to check that out as well because we have one of that. So let's dive in though to the salesperson state exam. So it is 150 multiple choice questions and it's in an electronic format. So it's going to be at one of their 5 locations, heavily regulated on their computer. And you have 3 hours to complete it, and you can do so in Sacramento, Oakland, Fresno, Los Angeles, or San Diego. If you are not located in one of those areas, you will need to travel to one of their locations to actually take the state exam. There's no exceptions to it, so do keep that in mind. And the biggest thing to know about it is you need to get a 70% or higher to pass. But it's not a straight across 70%. It is a weighted 70%. Brokers need a 75%, whereas with salespersons, you only need a 70%. And the big thing to know is because it's weighted, you don't need to necessarily, you don't need to just answer 105 questions out of 150 correct to pass. All of the questions are weighted differently, and it's also based on the 7 areas that they use to construct the exam. And I'll go into this further to kind of show you what we're talking about when it's weighted. But let's dive in a little bit into the results and then also these 7 areas. So the good news though with the exam being on the computer, the results are immediate. So you will be able to get your results that day. When I went for my salesperson license years ago, it was on the computer, not on the computer, it was written down. And I had to wait, I think it was a little over a week, and I was going on a Europe trip. So I was actually in Denmark when I found out that I had passed, but I brought all my study material with me because I wanted to be able to keep studying in case I didn't pass. So good news nowadays is because it's on the computer at their location, you get to find out right away. The results are immediate, and so what you do is when you hit the submit button at their location, you'll exchange with the administrator the mouse and the other material provided to you, and they will give you a piece of paper folded. They'll instruct you to go outside of the building, and then you can open up that piece of paper, and it will have your results on there. If you pass, they will say congratulations, and also give you instructions regarding the license portion to move on if you need to submit additional paperwork, or if you've already submitted for the license portion when you first applied, then you're actually able to get your license that day. And also because the exam is qualifying in nature, you are not informed of your final score if you pass. However, if you do not pass, there are 2 upsides to it. Of course, it's a bummer, but you're able to schedule and retake the state exam right away at their soonest availability. All you have to do is just pay that exam fee again of $60. It's not like the bar where, for instance, that you have to wait 6 months to take it again, or other types of licenses. We are lucky on that end of it, where as soon as they have availability, you can go schedule it, pay the $60. Usually it doesn't take too long, but it just depends on the current market and DRE processing timeframes. And if you don't pass, you're also going to be notified of your score. So whereas if you pass, you don't get your score. But if you don't pass, they will give you a percentage of saying, hey, so you need a 70% to pass. Let's say you got a 67%. They're going to be, based on the exam being weighted, you got a 67%. That doesn't mean you answered 67% of the questions correctly, though. That means out of the weighted questions, you got 67% of them, or 67% correct for how the questions were weighted. Now, you will also notified, though, of the 7 areas that the state exam is constructed. You will be notified of the percentage of questions that you did answer correctly in each of those subject areas. but you cannot combine or average those percentages to get your overall score. That's important to note. So they've never released how it's weighted, which does make studying a little bit difficult, but because they give you this breakdown, it gives you something to use to assist with what you need to improve on. It goes over your strengths and weaknesses. So let's kind of go through this a little bit more. So the 7 areas that the state has for the state exam. You have area 1, which is property ownership and land use controls and regulations. They say this is approximately about 15% of the exam. That doesn't mean 15% of the questions are going to be on this topic. That could mean that it's the amount of questions are going to be worth 15%. So it could be less than 15% of the questions. It could be more than 15% of the questions. So it's just saying approximately it's going to be about 15% will be based off of property ownership and land use controls and regulations. Area 2 will be based off of agency. They say about 17%. Area 3 is appraisal, 14%. Area 4, financing, 9%. Area 5, transfer of property. They say it's about 8%. Area 6, this is like a catch-all one, the practice of real estate and disclosures. It's a huge area, and they have it at 25%. And then Area 7, contracts, 12%. So for instance, let's say you got a 67% on the state exam, but in maybe Area 4, you got a 49% or a 48%, for instance. That would say, hey, you answered 48% of the financing questions correctly. That doesn't mean, though, that the questions may be worth less. So if they say it's going to be about 9% of the exam, so is this saying that it's 9% of the questions will be on financing, or is it just there might be a lot of questions, but it's only worth 9%? We don't know, and the department's never, ever released it. That requires you to be proficient in all 7 of these areas. But if you find out, hey, you only got 48% of the questions right, that might say, hey, there may not have been a lot of questions on it, but if it's going to be worth about 9%, I need to up my score on that because that's a big issue. You want to be trying to aim, if you can, for about 75 to 80% in all 7 of these areas. That will give you a really good shot of passing that state test just because of how it's weighted. And for instance, these big areas, so area 1, 2, 6, and 7, those are the ones students actually do really good in. So 1, 2, 6, and 7. Students do well in them because they're a little bit easier to understand and easier to apply to the questions, whereas appraisal, financing, and transfer of property are usually a little bit more challenging because none of this is really common sense, but especially this, and if you don't have real estate experience and you're relatively green to real estate, even if you know a little bit about it, you usually don't know about the fundamentals of appraisal, financing, and transfer of property. So students usually have issues with those areas. So usually these areas are going to be a little bit lower in that percentage breakdown, but it depends on the person and also depends on the exam you got. Who knows if it was heavy in a certain area? You might not have had a lot of questions in one of these areas. So for instance, maybe transfer of property only had 10 questions, you missed 5 of them, then you're already at only 50%, but it might not be worth much and it may only be up to 8% of the exam. So I wish I had a better answer for you, clear cut, but the department hasn't even released this. But this gives you an idea of understanding how the exam does have a low pass rate statewide due to the fact of this being weighted and you having to be proficient in all of these topics because it's an all-encompassing exam. And that requires to make sure, or this just makes, you want to make sure you have the right material, you put the time into studying the right material, so that way you're proficient and you can pass this exam on your first go. If you don't pass it though, it's not the end of the world. Remember that. Of course, it's a bummer, but it's not the end of the world. That you will get an idea of how you did. It's good practice, and it'll also give you something to use as a stepping stool onto your further, how you want to proceed with studying. And I also want to make it clear as well what makes the state exam relatively challenging is because the state exam is based on the theory of real estate. It's not the actual logical, realistic thing that you would think of for real world. If you have experience in real estate, people usually struggle with the state exam because there are discrepancies of what you would be, well, this would be at what actually happens or what may actually be the case, but the law states in theory, this is how it should be. The best example I always give is oral agreements, for instance. If you're looking to secure a commission and you had an oral listing, really hard to show that you actually had an agreement. Even though by law, they state you're entitled to a commission, in the real world, the courts are usually going to have a hard time giving you that commission if you just have an oral agreement. And that's kind of where I want to always show the state exam is not logical. It's based on what the law states it to be, not what you might be practicing or what your habits and what you've come across in the real world. And that's what makes people tricky, and how the state exam, they know about this and they really try to make those questions tricky and to mess with your mind. Because there is that, what you always want to do and put common sense and logic to it, but you can't. You have to make sure you understand the theory of law and what they want you to know and what they believe the answer to be based off of this. So important to keep that in mind. And we've talked about if you didn't pass, a little bit on when you do pass. Just know if you've passed it, you'll receive your license. If you filled out the combination application when you first submitted to the state, this is where you actually paid for the exam and license up front. If you only paid for the exam up front, then you'll need to submit the license application with the remaining fees and your fingerprinting, and you wait for approval from that. And then once that's approved, you'll then receive your license at that point. If you have want more information regarding the actual application process, regarding the form numbers, make sure to check out our How to Apply video. But as always, remember, I'm not affiliated or a part of the Department of Real Estate. We do not cover all the stipulations. This is just for general purpose. Make sure to always contact the DRE for up-to-date and accurate information. But if you have general questions, please feel free to contact us at Accredited, and we'd be happy to assist you with this process. But I look forward to seeing you licensed as a salesperson, and please do not hesitate to reach out with and contact us with any questions you might have, because we're here to help you get that real estate license.